Good afternoon, dear forum participants, dear speakers. We continue our work, and now we are attending the session named Quality of Life, Projects that Change Cities Today. You have seen the panel of our speakers for today, and we will attempt to hold a conversation about the topics related to the Sustainable Development Goals by the UN, and with the priorities of the UN Habitat Program. It's a special program for the development of cities, and how cities, especially mega cities, are tying their program with the Sustainable Development Goals. And what are the programs which are offered by cities and promoted by cities, which would bring them closer to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals? We will be speaking about that, not only referring to the example of Moscow and other Russian cities, but also referring to other cities, the heads of which are present today. And I would like to give the floor to Maimouna Moghsharif, the Executive Director of the UN Habitat.
You could sit, I guess, if it's convenient. Oh, okay.
Let's watch the UN Habitat video.
Коллеги, давайте сначала посмотрим вступительное видео, посвященное программе ООН по населенным пунктам.
Thank you very much, Chair, Honorable Ministers, Mayors, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon to you. I'm very glad to be here to share this platform as an Executive Director of UN Habitat. As you know, that I was a mayor before for 7 years in Penang, Malaysia. I know what is the challenges on the ground, implementing the new urban agenda and also to achieve the sustainable development goal. I have used a few slides. I was given this topic, new urban agenda, what values do cities focus on today? And from the video just now, you have seen that the progress of implementation of new urban agenda globally. And we had our report, progress report, presented to the UN General Assembly last year in July, and you've seen a few of the areas that been collaborated and also been updated. And in generally of all the 169 targets to achieve the 17th Sustainable Development Goal, as far as last year, after 2 years of the new urban agenda, we are still long way to go. But of course, people might say that it's only 2 years, 2016 in Quito. What do you expect in 2018? But I think we have a long way to go. And the world is rapidly urbanizing. From 2007, 50% stay in the cities, but now by 2050, at least 2/3 or 66% will be living in the cities, in the urban areas. And from 2010 to 2050, 2.5 to 3 billion people will be added to the urban population worldwide. This shows that it will stress the urban areas in terms of our competing limited resources. And that is where the planning, the managing of the cities, and also the political will and the enabling environment comes in order to achieve all this. And world cities are at all scale. Last time you can see that in 1990 is only 10 cities more than 10 million. Yesterday we were talking about megacities, and by 2030, 41 cities will be at the status of megacities, which have the population of 10 million and above. And this is not long. Now it's 2019. Next year will be 2020. It's 10 more years. So what shall we do together, and how can we trying to provide the better quality of life, at least to meet the basic requirement of a human being: home, water, sanitation, education, for people to work, for people to live, to work and play. These are the three areas. Of course, is to live, to work and play is different environment compared to less developed countries, compared to developed countries, and also to the small island development state. I think this is the way that we look. And you can see that the one that is the map showing that is where are these megacities are located. And the dense color is where is the 41, mostly 41 and the 63 cities are located. That's how I think globally we have to look into the not only the cities' resources, regional resources, but also global resources. And this is how indivisible and interconnected natures of Sustainable Development Goal. Meaning here is that the 17 SDG cannot be going alone. We have to do it interrelated, interconnected, and also holistic, and a way that is have an integrated approach. And interlinkages between SDG 11. Why SDG 11? Because UN Habitat is also given a mandate to look into the urbanization and human settlement. SDG 11 to make cities resilient, safe, sustainable. And how is it relate to the other 17 SDGs? That's the reason why the Secretary General is going forward to reform the UN agencies, not looking into individual, but as a one UN. And I hope also at the country level, city level, and also at regional level, you are looking at one unit, not as Ministry of Planning, Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Environment, but as one integrated element, and to be integrated the way the tool is the National Urban Plan or National Urban Policy that can be translated into local action at the local level. And these are the target of the better human settlement. If you have the time, you can look into our website. We presented this progress at the General Assembly last year in July in the high-level political forum. I just want to take a few things. The question by the chair just now: how far are we in the right track? How far at the global level? Of course, afterwards we will listen to the countries level and the cities level. Just look at the slum dwellers. Yes, the number of slum decreased, but the slum population increased. You can see that the number of slum, 28% in 2000, reduced to 23%. But the slum dwellers, due to the population and in-migration and also displacement from 2,807 million, by 2016, 1 billion. We still have to look into the figure now, 2018 and 2019. You can see that is how can we handle this? Because Islam, they are also linked to the basic services. Access to transport is still, public transport still remain very low in the developing countries. You can see that is the access to public transport is barely less than 50%. So this is the area that we look, if you want to talk about climate change, reduce zero carbon emission, to increase your NDCs and or carbon neutrals and all that. I think public transport is one of the areas that we have to look globally. But of course, we have to look to implement it at every level. 5 billion people affected by disasters between 2005 and 2015 needs urban resilience. Are we in the right track globally? And 42% lost their housing, 25% lost their housing due to flood, and 25% earthquake. And you can see that 15 billion people affected by disasters. So what shall we do? What you may, or as Executive Director of UN Habitat, shall do? That's the reason why I am present here, to collaborate with all of you. How can we help you? How can you collaborate partners with us? How can we work together? Because we cannot work alone. And this is also the progress monitoring. We have the monitoring updates. We even until now, from the studies last year, still struggling with the global definition of cities and urban areas. I already started having the discussion since last year because I came to the UN Habitat 1.5 years ago. And also we are still lack of data at city level. We have at the national level, but lack of data at city level. I think a lot of mayors here, please, how we can work together to collect data at the city level. Otherwise, it's very difficult for us to see how far the city achieved the implementation of the new urban agenda to achieve the 17 SDG. How to localize, particularly SDG 11. We need good governance, transparency, and accountability. We need competency, accountability, transparency, and also in terms of effective and efficient way to do work. We need integrated approach involving top-down, bottom-up, and convergence of ideas in the middle. If bottom-up also there is no leadership, is also no way. The leadership also keeping instruction, there is no bottom-up, no consultation, is also won't work in this era. So we need bottom-up approach, top-bottom approach, and also convergence of ideas in the middle. We need good fiscal management. If we have an integrated approach, integrated national urban policy, if we don't link it into the physical policy, a physical plan for the country or for the city, then it won't work. We need data and evidence base in order for the mayors, for the politicians, for the decision makers to make evidence-based decision or policy. Then we need a data. You please see how we can work together to collect data at city level. And of course, participatory process to involve the people. And we have the City Prosperity Index on productivity, infrastructure, quality of life. If you would like to know about our City Prosperity Index, please look for me, or I have my colleague here. I have no time to discuss further, but I just introduced to you, this is the tool to measure what status, the progress of the implementation of SDG, and also to achieve the progress of new urban agenda to achieve the SDG. These are our publication that we can work together with you. We have our platform. Then the nearest will be the World Cities Day in Ekaterinburg and World Urban Forum in Abu Dhabi next year, 8 to 13 February, and World Habitat Day in Cameroon. So please, these are the 3 nearest platforms that we can work together. This is our strategic plan. Please get this is my last slide, Mr. Chair. This is our strategic plan 2020-2023 was just approved last month. Very hot from the oven. Please look at it from our website. See how you can, this strategic plan become your priorities and our priorities. And we have 5 flagship programs. How can we meet together? We have 4 pillars to reduce spatial inequality and poverty in urban-rural continuum. We have how we can share this prosperity within cities and region, megacities, how we can strengthen climate action and improve urban environment and effective urban crisis. And we have 12 outcomes. We have cross-cutting issue, and we also have cross-cutting thematic areas. And please look at it. This is 49 pages, but I compress it into 1 page so that it's readable. Not the UN language, which is very difficult to understand. I put it down to earth, and you please check and see how we can work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maimuna. Please take your seat. Probably once again, the second day in the row, it's the most passionable presentation, and thank you very much. Дальше у нас будет возможность.
Next, we will have an opportunity to take a look at how and in what way, on a national level, on a city-wide level, with varying degree of success, we can implement sustainable development goals as the UN program, and how the national programs can be interconnected with the national development goals. And I would like to give the floor to the Russian minister, Vladimir Yakushev. Vladimir, it's your job, it's your duties to ensure the communication of Russia and the UN habitat. And I know that in a matter of minutes before this session, you finalized the negotiations with the head of the UN habitat. To what extent these goals are resonating with you, and how the Russian national plans and national projects for which your ministry is responsible are conducive to implementation of these sustainable development goals?
Well, let me start by saying that indeed we're in close cooperation with UN Habitat. Although we don't have a large track record yet. The organization was established 40 years ago. It has accumulated huge experience of urban development, dealing with megacities issues, problems that were highlighted in the previous presentation. Just recently in Kenya, I participated in a session of UN Habitat, and I had negotiations on the sidelines with representatives of African states that are very actively dealing with slum problems. Not just physical demolition of slums and relocation of residents and building something new in that place, but I remember thinking that the problems they're facing very similar with our program of demolition of dilapidated homes. It's a program that's been going on for around 10 years. And what we do in Russia, all the issues related with program management, dealing with conflict, because there are many issues that arise: municipal housing, constitutional rights of people that have to be protected, makes this program very difficult in terms of management. And today, many African countries, as they deal with their problems, face same challenges. They were very interested in our experience, and they took note actively during our negotiations, and many have requested additional documents. They're very interested in this program we're implementing in Russia, and I guess we can learn a lot from one another. Going back to the question you asked, we do have a lot in common. Recently, we brought urban development to a new level, and decree by our president number 204 was instrumental because it sets forth specific tasks and targets we must achieve by the year 2024. Are you referring to the national project? I am, because this is the one that contains targets. Initially, they were indicated in the decree, and then they were translated into projects and programs, and now every region of Russia, and we in the ministry administer this big project, housing and urban environment. So our goal is to make sure that within the next 6 years, those programs that will be implemented in our cities do transform radically our cities. And it's not just about funding, although funding is important. Another very important thing is to see how we change attitude towards our cities, how we start to realize that global trends that are present in the world, that most cities migrate to cities, they're attracted to megacities, is very true. Thus, we need to make sure we change and transform urban environment, make it comfortable, convenient for people. So we need to do this, and this is a hard job, but it has to be done. And the 40 years of experience that UN Habitat has accumulated is instrumental and very helpful to us. For instance, in our agency, we have a project called Smart City. When it was first contemplated, we consulted intensively with UN Habitat, and we took on board all of their best practices. We debated a lot on how we can rate our municipalities. How do we measure the progress? Because we needed to put together a program. And afterwards, we needed to look and assess its implementation to see whether we've achieved the desired goals or not. So there's international experience, there's best practices. There are indicators such as urban development indicator, city IQ. There are very many notions we studied, and UN Habitat was our ally. So all these notions were incorporated in the national project. I have a question. Cities are usually governed by local self-governance. Certain matters are dealt with at local level. How can your ministry or federal level participate? Well, every national project has been translated federal level. So our national project is split into 4 federal projects. The one I'm talking about is called Urban Environment. It provides for a number of actions. These actions are very specific, they're detailed, they're split to specific elements. And of course, we're guided by regional interests, and then regional authorities further translates it into specific goals for separate municipalities. So these targets and indicators that have to be achieved are listed in a passport, as we call it, of a regional project. Thus, it allows us to control implementation, follow up on the implementation of regional projects, and then it all is summarized at federal level, and we get a full picture. What is the minister responsible for, head of a region or a mayor? How do you split competences? Well, take urban environment. It contains of a number of indicators. You remember President, when he said that we needed such program, he also mentioned that many people at different levels need to be engaged in transforming cities and deciding on what it is we're going to do with our cities, how we're going to create public spaces, etc., etc. And it's got a very straightforward indicator. By the year 24, 30% of each municipality, population of municipality should participate in discussion of any change happening in a city. So this is a very specific target. So with general targets for every country, then we explain it in regional action plans. We call them passports, and then governors are responsible for that. The governor sets targets for municipalities. Thus, we create a power structure that's very comprehensive and yet simple. Also, there is another indicator. The number of cities with low-quality urban environment should decrease twofold by the year 2024. How to measure that? We use index of quality of urban environment. So once we've calculated that for each municipality, we'll summarize this data for a region. Thus, we'll be able to decide on efficiency of local and regional authorities. So we will be collecting data from municipalities at regional level, and regional and municipal teams will be responsible for attaining results. And as for us, at the federal level, ministry level, we will support regions in their endeavors, and thus we shall prevail. Thank you very much. Which brings us to the discussion with mayors of major cities. We have an amazing team with a mayor from a large European city, a mayor of a city that in between Asia and Europe, deputy mayor of a city in the Far East, and deputy mayor of one of the largest megacities of Southeast Asia, and a minister of Moscow government. With them, we're going to talk about how cities structure their agenda in line with UN development goals. With this, I want to give the floor to Mayor of Ankara, Mansur Yavaş.
Sayın Başkan, çok değerli katılımcılar,
Dear participants, dear Minister, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to start by welcoming you on my own behalf and on behalf of people of Ankara. I appreciate the invitation to participate in this forum. We live in the time of change, where the focus is shifting towards cities. People consume more and more natural resources. There's growing need for jobs. There's there are clear problems, such as violation of minority rights. This is what we witness on a daily basis. And our priority is achieving sustainable development against this very difficult backdrop. In line with SDGs, we understand we need to focus on strategic planning. We need to create convenient cities for our citizens. I was recently elected as mayor of Ankara, and I want to tell you that we have a new vision, a new strategy for Ankara, which I want to share with you. Ankara has the population of over 5 million people. It's a large commercial, industrial center. We have direct flights to most major cities of the world. We have 21 universities, good healthcare system, lots of hospitals, R&D centers, including aviation centers, space, arts. We have a large history. Our capital, our city has always been a trade center, a center of global trade. But alongside with our advantages, we have many challenges. We have slums, we have a problem of immigration, inflow of refugees. We suffer from drought and conflict, just like other cities. We're no different. The principle we are guided by is no one should be left behind. And we engage all stakeholders, including NGOs, chambers of commerce. I negotiated with them already. We had a 3-month-long conversation where I met over 3,000 stakeholders. When I came to power, City Council was dysfunctional, but we managed to reactivate it, and we tried to bring on board new stakeholders. Meetings of our council are broadcasted live. Our main principles are accountability and transparency. We make our public procurement as transparent as possible.
Alışık olan bir ortam değildi. Hatta Twitter
This was a new model for us. We started broadcasting live in Twitter and other social media. And a woman was watching live tender procedure for a pipeline in Ankara. So now we have an open platform where people can see all tender conditions, and we try to make it as transparent as possible so that every person who lives in Ankara would know how it works and operates. As you probably know, around Ankara there are very many greenhouse farms that use all sorts of fertilizers to grow their products. But now we try to reduce harmful environmental effect, to reduce their negative impact and footprint. One of our priorities is to provide fresh fruit and vegetables to people that live in Ankara, but at the same time we need to protect our environment from negative environmental impact. So we've come up with a plan that should be implemented until 2038. This plan was open for discussion by all people, and they were offered to comment and provide their suggestions. They were incorporated in the master plan for the improvement of urban environment, and all people could follow live what suggestions were made and how the city council voted. And it was important for them to understand how city develops. No one is protected from natural disasters. One of the priorities for Ankara is achieving seismic protection of all of our buildings, because we're located in a very dangerous region. Therefore, it's one of the priorities of our urban planning is raising seismic resilience of our cities. Ankara is an important agricultural region. A number of big projects have been implemented, including this one. There's Kızılırmak River next to Ankara. We're going to use it for irrigation of all agricultural lands around Ankara. Ankara is also facing another problem. Agriculture was a traditional source of income, but as farmers migrate to cities, this profession is dying out. Therefore, we put in place a program to support rural areas and return people back to their farmlands, make them interested in agriculture. We provide financial support. We have a large number of instruments in place for farmers to remain in rural areas, because once we give them sources of income, they will be reluctant to migrate and they will stay home and provide fresh fruit and vegetables for Ankara. We're also developing in the vicinity of Ankara R&D centers. For instance, we have a center for space research, aviation center. These are among our priorities. A city cannot develop based on one single industry. A large city should be center of science, industry, agriculture, SMEs, and they should all develop in harmony. In recent years, city administration's been making a lot of effort to create in Ankara and in vicinity platforms where people could sell their products, both internally and globally. We support SMEs that work in Astana and around Astana. We help them implement their project. We help them access foreign markets and tell the world about their achievements. Ankara, just as any megacity, cannot cope with all modern challenges by itself. It goes without saying that we actively cooperate with UN Habitat. We share our experience, best practices, discuss our challenges and achievements. We contribute to the improvement of UN Habitat program. And I hope we will be able to make our contribution to the urban development of the world. Thank you very much. With this, I want to give the floor to Zoran Radevic, Mayor of Belgrade. I know that in 2016, you adopted a new master plan for the city. It was the same year when Sustainable Development Goals were adopted. So was the new urban agenda of the United Nations and UN Habitat. So is your urban program in line with UN Sustainable Goals? What are your priorities? And maybe you could add just a couple of words, because I know you're given a lot of attention to development and equal opportunities for women in urban economy and urban environment. Could you comment on that too, please?
You just asked me?
Yes.
Please, will you repeat? Because I thinking that you are just say that I will present next. I just have to present my presentation.
Yes.
And I'm waiting for
the next
slide.
Do you need a presentation?
Yes, I need a presentation.
Окей. Пожалуйста, выведите презентацию господина Радовичича на экран. И я просил вас
I'm kindly asking you to help us with the presentation. And I was asking you to compare your urban development plan adopted in 2016 with the CDG, with the Sustainable Development Goals also adopted in 2016. In your documents, you're paying a lot of attention for the gender equality, for the equality and opportunities for women to be a part of the global processes and global economies. Maybe you could mention these two. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for opportunity to have opportunity to make presentation on this distinguished forum. As you can see on the first slide, this is picture of Belgrade waterfront. We are getting a panorama of the modern metropolis. This is just one of many large and significant projects which we are having in Belgrade. Because of that, capital of Serbia has become a large construction site, and we are calling in Belgrade this city of crans. That is what we wanted. We wanted to have a lot of projects, but this project carrying a lot of challenges. How to compromise between intensive economic development from one side and health urban development of the city from another side is the question I have been asking myself since I took the position of the mayor of Belgrade. This was just 1 year ago, and before of that time I was out of the politics, and I just started to participate in this topic, and I think that it's very important that the people who is not in politics to make impact generally in solving a lot of this problem. There is also another issue and challenging for Belgrade. This is population growing last decades. Now Belgrade having about 1.8 million of inhabitants. Global environment problem have also impact on Belgrade. Increasing number of the car is a common problem for any big country and any megacities, and also specific for us is illegal construction. How to Belgrade adapt their own development priorities to the UN agenda, this is UN Sustainability Development Goals. This is maybe generally answers your question. We are having development strategy from 2016, and we are implementing many principles of that city development strategy. This principle is generally common. First one is the new road hierarchy, with the pedestrian on the first place and the cars on the last one. Also, moving industrial facilities from the central zone to the periphery of the town and the sending city to the rivers. But all of this have to be in correlation with preservation and care on the environment as the main principle of development of our town. All of these principles follows from the value, because value of the town is also this one of the topic today for us, is that we want to Belgrade be healthy, clean, green, friendly and pleasant. As we heard on a lot of the presentation yesterday and today in the morning, this have to be town where is the citizen in the center, citizen-centric town. We want to Belgrade be like this, and with the modern technology in the place we intend to getting our aim. Our vision to Belgrade is continual large infrastructure project, but with increasing attention on the green and the smart solution in developing of our capital. That is why I signed the Global Convention of the Mayor for the Climate and Energy, struggling to significantly reduce the emission of harmful gas in the air of the city. Two main strategy documents are currently being prepared about that in Belgrade. I also want to mention some concrete projects which we are planning to do in the future. One of the most important is on that slide, on the last position, is the thermal rehabilitation building in Belgrade, which aim to promote a reduction of carbon dioxide gas emission and energy consumption. This is a pilot project, and we are hoping that a lot of that we will develop in the future. Next is construction of the new largest regional landfill Vinča. This is a project worth about 300 million euros, and it become implemented at the moment with a consortium, Japanese, French, private sector partner. The construction of 5 wastewater treatment plants is being planned. Preparation for the construction of the first plant are at the course. The total value of this investment is about 1 billion euro. Also, on the other hand, we are in the feasibility study for construction of metro, and we are working on implementing a new road hierarchy in mobility. Belgrade plans to build 120 kilometers of new cycling roads, and also 150 public cycling stations will be set up very soon. We are also planning to build up 2 bridges, 2 tunnels, roads, etc., etc. There are a lot of investment projects and ideas which needs to be harmonized and in balance with nature. We are aware of the necessity of networking and cooperation with the colleagues from the region and exchange good experience in this field. For the purpose, the city of Belgrade had signed a large number of agreements on the cooperation with the city and the mayor from other countries. I want to mention, during this year's visit to Belgrade of Russian President Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, the city of Belgrade signed agreement, a lot of agreement, but one of them is with Boss Lighting Group, a company with which we are planning to work together in the future on the new ecological concept of lighting in the city of Belgrade. Cooperation between the city of Belgrade and a Russian company is very important for us because you want to reach the level which Moscow is at the moment is having. So, one of the main instruments for achieving the goal from UN agenda is the international cooperation and application of public-private partnership experience and implementation new technology and ideas with smart city concept. Only together we can provide better life for our citizens, we can stop climate changes and preserve the planet from the future generation. Thank you.
Спасибо.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm asking all our presenters to stay within the 7 times as the limit for presentation, and I would like to give the floor to the mayor of other gigantic city. It's Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, Mr. Nur Hisham Ahmad Dahlan. Mr. Mayor, in your city, you are nearing to completion of the earlier strategic plans. What are the results of implementing these plans, and how do they compare with the UN Sustainable Development Goals? Thank you.
Andri Shonono. Ladies and gentlemen, Kuala Lumpur plans to be a resilient city, and today I would like to share the initiative taken through the best practices of low carbon society blueprint towards a vibrant green economy coupled with the Kuala Lumpur Competitive Master Plan. The plan promotes planning and development in sustainable manner where environmental quality, social equity, and economic prosperity are the essence in becoming a world-class city that will assume a major global and sub-global role for the benefits of all its communities, workers, visitors, and investors. That is, the spatial structure of Kuala Lumpur City needs to be efficiently developed in order for us to accommodate Kuala Lumpur growing population along with the increasing demands for urban spaces in Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur needs a more human-oriented urban design which offers its populations a healthy and safe living environment, higher quality of life while reducing travel and energy demand as well as cost of living, hence making Kuala Lumpur a resilient city to live in. It is highly essential that Kuala Lumpur must begin charting a clear, practicable low carbon, green growth pathway towards significantly reducing the greenhouse gas emission and leads other Malaysian cities towards achieving the nation goal to reduce its GHG emission intensity of GDP by 40% by 2020. Another initiative taken by Kuala Lumpur City Hall in order to become a resilient city is creating a human-oriented, environmentally friendly urban design, which will eventually contribute to the carbon emission reduction. Kuala Lumpur can potentially solve traffic congestion by providing extensive and comprehensive pedestrian walkways and cycling lanes. Fourthly, by enhancing and improving interconnected pedestrian networks, City Hall of Kuala Lumpur has identified and connected few existing pedestrian networks and is creating continuous active street frontage in order to provide safe walking routes to the public. A resilient city has low counts of crimes in which a city that is able to adequately prevent crimes. One achievable way is to adoption of crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED. Nowadays, most buildings are installed with CCTVs. Crime could also be prevented by adding more security bits at appropriate location, especially red alerted zones. In addition to this, building owners can increase natural surveillance through proper building orientation and landscape design by eliminating blind spots in building and also urban environments. City Hall of Kuala Lumpur is also enhancing street lighting along pathway and other pedestrian mostly used areas. These would be clear outlines and steps that are needed to produce a stable, resilient city through the implementation of 4 Ps, which are prioritize, plan, protect, and provide, and 4 Vs, which are vibrant, vitality, value, and variety, respectively. These action statements are needed in order to answer to the call of the new urban agenda, as well as to harmonize and fulfilling the 11 Sustainable Development Goals, make city inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Спасибо, господин мэр.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to invite Anton Kulbachevsky to our discussion, the head of the Department of the Natural Resources Use and the Protection of the Resources of the City of Moscow. Anton, you have been interacting, speaking about the UN with the SDGs. What is your perspective, and how do you organize interdisciplinary cooperation in the City of Moscow with other departments and NGOs, with urban activists and with urban community? Thank you, Andrei. Dear speakers, dear guests, I would like to welcome everyone once again in our beautiful city. And answering your question, I would like to say that actually 17 principles of the sustainable development outlined by the UN, all of them have ecological components in them. We should not separate them. So in Moscow, we do have certain events based on these 17 principles. We have identified guidelines on the level of the Russian Federation, on the level of the urban management. Moscow is being developed by the program principle. We have the state, we have the 4 public programs. We have some ecological projects and events which have to be implemented, and they have to ensure progress for us moving towards sustainable development. And all the departments of the Moscow government are involved, which enables us to make environmentally oriented solutions which do not contradict to the SDGs. So we have some cooperation between the executive authorities, and in this sense, we try to play on the safe side, so to speak. Now we are part of the pilot projects of the Ministry of Economic Development about providing reporting for sustainable development. It's a new topic for the Russian Federation, and we take bold steps, and we are willing to provide this kind of reports. We're building these reports right now, and the Ministry of Economic Development is grateful for that. But Moscow has experienced transformative growth in the last 10 years. Speaking about the transportation component, like Mr. Mayor has mentioned in here, basically we've implemented all the projects in transportation. Next, we expect some environmental impact and for the benefit of the Sustainable Development Goals. In the last 8 years, we've decreased the emissions from the automotive transport, even though we have more and more cars. While back in 1980 we had 3 million cars, now we have about 5 million cars in Moscow. Still, we're able to decrease the emissions by 22%, emissions of the harmful substances, about 220,000 tons, which is a colossal success. Like the Sergei Sobyanin has mentioned, for the harmful substances which have the negative health impact our citizens, we basically just halved this impact. This is the current dynamic, and this is what the impact of the transportation policy can be. And this is the effect that we've received. Anton, could you please specify, could you please evaluate, in your view, what are the best achievements within the Sustainable Development Goals in Moscow, and where is the room for growth and room for development, where the Moscow has still make some big effort in terms of achieving the highest possible standards? I have already mentioned about the transportation component. We have a great breakthrough in transportation. We are not attempting to expand the surface of our road network. We're using different technologies and different methodology to achieve what we have achieved. So it means via developing the public transportation, public transit. Absolutely. Speaking about the public spaces, even such a measure as constraining road network and expanding on pedestrian zones in the downtown of Moscow, it's also the way of following the Sustainable Development Goals. And we have more pedestrians, five-fold increase in number of pedestrians on the streets of Moscow. It's a great success. People are now went out to the streets. It also impacts or gives people health benefits. Speaking about such territorial projects as Park Zaryadye, where we are right now, we are very proactively implementing the projects of improving embankments of the Moscow River. It's a big project. In the future, it will enhance sustainability of the public spaces in Moscow.
Think of World Football Cup last year. It has shown that we're moving in the right direction because we had an incredible inflow of football fans, and over 1.5 million fans visited Moscow, and our infrastructure managed. It has proven its resilience, and we're proud of. We have 17,000 hectares of natural reserves in Moscow that are protected by legislation. Any construction is prohibited. Do you mean are these natural or historic areas? Usually it's a combination of both. They usually contain cultural heritage as well as environmental, natural heritage. I don't think any other megacity of the world can boast of such territories. And this is our backlog for the future. This is something we're striving to preserve successfully. Talking about energy, we also see very good prospects. A lot has been done in the past 8 years. We've introduced 55 million square meters of real estate without increasing generation consumption of natural gas. We've saved over 2 billion cubic meters of gas in just a few years. That is enough to heat a 2 million people city somewhere in the north. So at least 2 million Muscovites live in zero-carbon city. So we see prospects, we see potential for raising efficiency of the energy system, making it more sustainable. What is very important is that we're exceptionally open. We publish all environmental data. You can get access to any environmental information. We provide detailed reports to all relevant international organizations such as the UN, World Health Organization, World Meteorological Organization, and other UN agencies that use our data. Thank you, Anton. With this, I want to give the floor to our last but not least speaker, Devoni Kim, who is Deputy Mayor of Seoul from Korea, Republic of Korea, Korea and Seoul in particular among world leaders in terms of SDGs and green agenda, and Seoul's made a commitment to be among the first cities in the world, if not the first, to attain all SDGs by 2030. That became foundation of city development strategies, set up a separate department that's focusing on attaining SDGs. Please tell us more about this program. Tell us about what you do to attain those SDGs.
노브르젠 오친 부리아티나. 안녕하십니까. 서울특별시 정무부시장 김원입니다. 먼저 모스크바 도시포럼에 초청해 주셔서 감사드립니다.
Good day, dear friends. My name is Wong Kim. I come from Seoul City Hall. I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this high-level forum. Our city participates very actively in improving urban infrastructure and improving lifestyle of the people of Seoul. I wanted to say a few words about our campaign, our program to improve urban environment. Currently, we have an action plan to bring Seoul development in compliance with the UN Development Program. In 2017, in November 2017, Seoul City Hall adopted a new development program, a proactive development program. It was done by our Republican administration. And currently, we shifted to a democratic model of implementation of Sustainable Development Program by the year 2030. Our city administration, headed by our mayor, is taking a lot of action, putting special emphasis on those programs that were endorsed by the United Nations. Among them, to list a few, are IT-related programs, programs aimed at improving urban infrastructure, environmental protection. These are our top priorities. Currently, we've declared 17 main goals and 96 targets to improve urban environment of Seoul. This is done in line with UN SDGs that takes into account peculiarities of our country. Therefore, we try to fine-tune UN SDGs and make it more apt to deal with our realities. We've adopted 3 to 9 projects for every goal to achieve SDGs. We try to shift from quantitative to qualitative indicators, from material to humanitarian goals, and we're striving to find balance between profit-making and amount of resources we spend. I want to give you 2 examples of how we try to incorporate SDGs into our program. Among the main problems UN member states are facing is hunger. Therefore, UN SDG number 2 is zero hunger. This problem is less relevant for Republic of Korea. Therefore, we reformulated this SDG, and now its status improved distribution structure between urban and rural areas, support urban agriculture for food security and nutritional balance of citizens. So among our targets is to ensure safe, nutritious and balanced food for all citizens. Our goal number 2, end all forms of malnutrition, support vulnerable groups of people, and provide high-quality products for children. Improve, support supply chains, and establish connections between foodstuff producers and industrial companies that process them. That said, in order to assess efficiency of implementation of our program, we've designed a special matrix to assess the quality of change. I've spoken about main goals of the program, so we've also set up a special committee that follows up on the implementation of the program and does evaluation. After we publish all statistics related to the implementation, thus giving all people the opportunity to evaluate the efficiency of initiatives. And we encourage people to participate in amending, changing the program if needed, in order to fine-tune these programs and make them more tailor-made. In 2018, we set up this matrix to evaluate the course of implementation, and we're also taking a number of actions to improve connectivity between the central part of Seoul and various municipalities that are located on the outskirts of the city. We enhance cooperation between Seoul administration and various NGOs, business community associations, and different stakeholders that could inform and raise awareness among population about action we're taking. In 2019, we've launched a new 5-year plan. So there's a lot more change to come. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This brings us to the conclusion of our session. I think we had a very interesting combination. We heard from the head of international organization who spoke very specifically about UN SDGs and about the implications for cities. We heard from a federal official who is in charge of urban planning at the federal level, the Russian Federation. We heard from heads of 5 world cities that charter their own plans in line with those global goals that are currently at different stages of development, have different capacities and opportunities. And I think it was a very interesting overview of diverse experience we'll all learn from. Thank you and all the best.